The New South Wales Government's planned crackdown on illegal brothels came a step closer after the legislation giving local councils more power was passed in the upper house last night. Premier Morris Yemmer announced his Get Tough on Illegal Brothels plan in the lead up to the March state election. But it seems the government's action has pleased no one. The legal brothel industry says the legislation is not tough enough, the councils say they still need more powers, and the home-based sex workers fear they'll be caught in the crossfire. Sharon O'Neill reports.
You'd never know it from the outside, but this is one of Sydney's biggest legal brothels. It was purpose-built in 2001 in the middle of an industrial estate in Granville after being approved by Parramatta Council.
This is basically the client's initial point of connection with the reception because they've secured their parking down in the parking area. They can either come up the stairs or come up the lift that way. Then they go to that point of entry there. They actually ring that buzzer, so the receptionist anywhere in the house knows that there's clients here, and then the gentleman would be either taken to a private waiting room over that side, or there's a bar pool area for gentlemen that want to don't mind being in a communal environment.
Kerry Russell is the manager of this brothel, known as The Site. There are 20 working rooms here, and more than 80 women available to clients are listed on the brothel's website. As a legal premises, this brothel has to comply with council regulations. Health checks are a priority.
All our ladies have to come up to our stand and have a doctor cert every 3 months. So therefore every client must pass medical muster before the service begins. So basically he would have a medical check, then he would be popped into the shower.
The legal brothels work in a regulated environment and have to meet stringent conditions in terms of occupational health and safety, fire and other regulations. Illegal brothels, of course, don't have to work in that regulated environment.
Chris Siege is a lobbyist who represents the Adult Business Association, which includes around 60 legal brothels in New South Wales. Over the past 10 years, Mr Siege says legal brothels have seen their profits diminish due to a growth in illegal brothels. His organisation has been lobbying the state government to get tough on those brothels that don't obey the laws. But when the legislation came before the Parliament, he was disappointed in the outcome.
I think it's a step in the right direction, but at the end of the day, from what I've seen of the proposed new laws, it's merely a band-aid solution.
Thank you very much, the Coalition, for their support of this legislation.
This week, the New South Wales Parliament debated the Brothels Legislation Amendment Bill, which gives local councils more powers to take action against illegal brothels. The new measures include allowing councils to issue orders cutting off the electricity, gas and water supply to illegal brothels, making council orders to close illegal brothels effective within 5 working days, expanding the types of circumstantial evidence which can be relied upon in the courts, and increasing the financial penalties for repeat offenders.
I'm very pleased that the Premier has taken this stance, but he hasn't gone far enough.
Nick Ebick is the Mayor of Ku-ring-gai Council in Sydney's north, and like the legal brothel owners, he would have liked the government to do more.
It's a little bit like a cafe or a restaurant. We can close them down if they're providing an unhygienic form of trade. However, the brothel we can't. They can be providing unprotected sex. An illegal brothel gives us no opportunity to close them down. So I'd like the opportunity and the provisions for us to close them down immediately and let them prove to us that they're not trading as an illegal brothel.
So under this new legislation, you won't have the power to do that?
No, we're going through, and don't get me wrong, it is better. But we're going through the back door. We're shutting down electricity and gas, and in some cases water, to stop them trading. That's not right. We should be going in there and boarding the place up so that they can't trade.
Mr Ebick wants the government to give councils the power to close down the suspected illegal brothels immediately before going through the court process.
We're not getting a great deal more. As I said, they're giving us a little further opportunity, but to reduce services to them, all that will do is deter them. It won't stop them. And the problem we face is that they can move out today and their brother, sister, auntie or uncle can move in and start trading in exactly the same fashion tomorrow.
The legal brothel industry is in favour of local councils having increased powers, but there's one solution they claim will put illegal brothels out of business. Don't let them advertise.
We believe they should legislate where if a brothel wants to advertise, they have to provide evidence to the media group that they've been provided approval by the relevant council.
And did you put that to the government?
Yes, we have.
And what sort of response did you get?
Terrible response. I've been to the Premier, I've been to the Planning Minister, Mr Sartor, and the Attorney General, Mr Hatzistakos, and they just don't want to know about it, unfortunately.
Pick up the Sydney Daily Telegraph or any local newspaper and there's no shortage of ads offering adult services.
The advertising's the key. They must prevent the advertising.
So if they did that, then do you think that would basically wipe out a lot of people's opportunity to make money as sole traders and in illegal brothels?
There's no question. If you cut the advertising, you cut the customers, in turn you cut the business.
So there's an ad here in your local paper down the bottom here at Gordon Full Body Rub. I mean, would that be the kind of thing that could be an example of an illegal brothel, do you think?
Look, it looks like it. Why don't we give them a call?
While Nick Ebick is also concerned about illegal brothels being able to advertise, the ads are also a way for councils to track down brothel operators who do not have council approval.
Hello, can I help you?
Hi, is this the massage at Gordon?
Yeah, massage at Gordon.
You're open now?
Yeah.
Do you do the full service?
No.
No. Okay. Oh, okay.
Don't look after your special needs. Come down discuss with the girl, please.
Beg your,
Talk to the girl.
beg your pardon?
You talk to the girl, come here.
I talk a deal if I go there.
Yeah.
So you might be able to help me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Well, it sounds a little dodgy, and I've got to say, it's amazing that we can get that just straight out of the local paper.
So that's the only way of basically them advertising the business if it is in fact an illegal brothel?
Absolutely, and if you can get rid of that advertising, then we're going to rid ourselves of plenty of these illegal brothels.
Hi, Saul. Hi,
hello.
Sharon. Hi, nice to meet you.
Really nice to meet
Thanks
you.
very much for letting us come
in.
around. Thank you. Saul is a home-based sex worker and under the government's legislation is operating an illegal brothel.
I actually work from my bedroom because I don't see anything wrong with sharing my bed with strangers.
But Saul thinks his business is quite different to the services offered in a commercial brothel, and he wants the government to recognise that.
The problems that occur when you fail to differentiate between the different scales and types of businesses are enormous. I mean, there's obviously, as a home-based sex worker, if I have my power and gas cut off, there's an infringement of my international human rights. And I find it really hard to believe that the New South Wales government is prepared to go down that path. I think what is clearly required is a sensible differentiation from home-based sex workers from other larger commercial premises. And if that doesn't happen, then we're going to have big problems with underground sex industry and more corruption.
This week, the home-based sex workers and their advocates protested at Parliament House against the government's new legislation.
The unintended consequences of Sartor's legislation is to capture all private workers in New South Wales. Currently, that is about 40% of the sex industry and equals about 4,000 individual private workers. These private workers at the moment are operating without complaints being made against them and quite peacefully in residential areas.
What about the home-based sex worker? They will come in under this legislation as well. Has that been a problem that you're aware of in this area?
No, Ku-ring-gai doesn't seem to have that sort of industry. It may be, although not known, but it's not an industry we've had any complaints of at all.
When you hear councils say we don't have home-based sex workers in our local government area, what's your reaction to that?
And there is no climate change. It's an inconvenient truth. We do exist. We're mainly invisible, and that was the way we thought that society would like us to operate from home, invisible. Why force us to go through a DA process and drag this into a public arena? It's about a private consensual activity that goes on behind closed doors let's keep it that way.
Sharon O'Neill reporting. The campaign by the home-based sex workers produced a small victory in the upper house last night. Amendments were made to the bill which exclude from the new council powers those premises where only one prostitute is working. As well, in relation to single prostitutes, at least 2 complaints will be needed before councils can act. The amendments were moved by Reverend the Honourable Fred Nile.